I was just waiting for 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Which it is now. So we can call the meeting in order, have the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Read the land acknowledgement statement. The Pima County Public Library acknowledges the sovereignty of Native nations and acknowledges the 22 federally recognized indigenous tribes of the state of Arizona and those who inhabit Pima County. We honor the vast and often unrecognized contributions and sacrifices of indigenous people and are conscious of the ongoing experience of inequality and political invisibility. In partnership with Native nations, PCTL advocates for full access to educational, informational, and recreational resources. Well, the call of the public. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak? No. We'll move on to approval of minutes for April 3rd, 2025. Any changes, amendments, revisions, comments on the minutes? Motions?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Sharon. Is there a second? Anna seconds. All those in favor? Aye. Perfect. Okay. Abstentions? You guys are forgetting the word for when you are not in agreement. Opposition? Is that what it's saying?
Opposed?
No, okay, done, carried. Introductions, would you like to, is this Alina, who's next to you, Marisa? Alina, you want to just introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Alina Rowe and I'm the Library Services Manager overseeing the community engagement.
Nice, exciting. Okay, summary of current events by library board members. Anna.
I was at the El Pueblo Library this morning. Some students from the University of Arizona, one of the design studios, were displaying their final projects. All semester they've been working, doing things about the El Pueblo Center. And so their final project was to create some kind of storytelling activity so that in the fall, they're going to have like a 50th anniversary celebration. So things that, members of the public who attend might be able to utilize to give their stories about El Pueblo, what it means to them. And there were some really great projects. The students were there and they explained things to us, and it was just very nice.
Nice. Any other current events from library board members? Okay. Friends or Library Foundation?
Penny's on.
Penny is on.
I have to let the Library Foundation go first.
Okay.
Thank you, Penny. So since the last meeting, we held our donor engagement event, and this was for our top portfolio of donors. Amber came and spoke. I know the donors loved it. They loved being able to hear from her and talk with her in that small group format and on a one-to-one basis. We also had a graduate from Career Online High School speak, and he just about brought down the house. He was fantastic. We've been going through an RFP process to find a new management company for our endowment. That's been a long process, and we should have that done and someone new in place in the next couple of weeks. Our spring appeal will hit mailboxes next week. That's our last push for this fiscal year to generate more revenue. And for the scholarship fund, this is the program that we took over from the Green Valley Friends of the Library. We actually have 4 applicants. We had 1, and I thought, well, that's kind of slow, but then 3 more slid in like late yesterday. Deadline was midnight, so I woke up to some more applicants. So we'll be sending out those scholarships probably in the next month.
So any questions Okay, Penny?
Our next sales, our members only sales will be May 17th and 18th. Our community sales are May 23rd and 26th, all at our country club location. And yesterday we delivered $65,000 to Amber's office. That's the third of our four promised payments. I think we owe another 65 or 70,000 for the end of the year. Amber was a guest at our annual luncheon at the beginning of April and talked about the library and what was happening. And as always, she's very well received. And that's about it, unless you have some questions.
Any questions for Penny? All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
Hey.
All right, Marisa and M.
Right.
Yeah, please. It's not for this. It's just me.
We have a physical copy here, everyone that's in person. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Nice, big thing we can look at. This is what.
Hang tight, online folks. We're trying to.
Online folks, you should have the handout in your email. That is, okay. So if we can't get it pulled up on the screen, you'll see it there.
It's not. I can't even minimize it. That's not what I want to do. There's no even option. I'm sorry.
It's okay, it's just gonna be hard for the PowerPoint. So we can figure this out now, but. Well,
Can they see this?
we gotta go to another, there,
Did we lose it? No, everybody's still there. Window. But it's not there anymore. Okay.
interesting.
Yeah, now.
Where is it?
Last board.
Got it. I'm used to seeing the folder, sorry. I know, right?
Yeah, I was
There we go. Share. See?
there we go.
Oh, that
But that's for later.
That's the next.
But that'll stay up for now, that's
Yeah,
fine.
that's fine.
So, this is work that, Marisa and I have been doing since I joined the deputy director team. Trying to figure out what community engagement is going to take on and what is public services, since for many years, as community engagement has been small. We haven't, public services has taken on a lot of some of that work. And so we've always had a vision of some of the work that public services have done. And this is our new vision, but a lot of the things that you see here in green, like affinity teams, for example, were in public services. Staff training and development, was kind of something that everyone did. One person did the orientation, staff training and development, and then Beth Mathias Laundrie did some of the outside training and development stuff. We want to move staff training and development, and make into public services officially with a training coordinator position and another library services manager position that would be the training coordinator would report up to. And then I don't know if you want to speak to some of the community engagement work.
Yeah, so I think for us, you know, we're still trying to build out community engagement office again. We'll, you know, in our presentation, we'll share the current staff that we have, which is very small, but mighty staff. But, you know, we're really working on building capacity and this is kind of the near future vision of where we want to go. Obviously, we have like a larger built out org chart that, you know, as we maybe get more space and are able to expand, that we want to, you know, add more staff to that office. We're really shifting towards outreach. The other big shift that we're really looking at with our team is previously community engagement was really focused on overseeing a lot of those system service level teams, so like birth to 8, youth services, our young adult services. We still are having a hand in that going forward, but it's been very clear because of a lot of the transition in that office. We haven't had a lot of leadership until very recently in that office. So the team there's been a lot of shift for the programming aspect, really moving back to the branches, and they've been really taking that on. And I think there was in the past, you know, I remember being a branch manager, there was some tension between this top level programming push being pushed down onto the branches having feelings about that sometimes, you know, like these are the programs you have to do. And branches, you know, the staff have really good idea of what the community is that they're serving. And so some of those standardized programs that we were pushing weren't very, you know, they weren't working for certain communities. So I think the staff, we're trying to work so that we can give the autonomy that the branches really deserve and their work that they're doing. So they'll be really focusing on their branch level programming, the outreach that they're doing locally in their service areas. And I see our community engagement office as being the support for that. So what do the staff at the branches need? Do they need more training? Do they have a new children's librarian and they need training on doing story time? Do they need professional development opportunities? We can provide those and search those out for them. Do they need extra staff at an outreach event? You know, as we build our office, we can help with that as well. So we really want to be able to support the work that's happening at the branches, but on a, you know, larger system-wide scale. And then we would still be really focusing on those larger system-wide events and those larger initiatives and also partnerships that, you know, multiple branches would participate in. We would be the ones that would be coordinating that. We're doing some of that already now, but I think we're really want to shift our focus to building capacity so that we can be like the info and resource sharing department for those service levels, but also really shifting towards doing some really larger scale outreach and really expanding that out into the community. So I mean, that was kind of where we started, and it's been shifting and it's changed over the years. And I think we're trying to get back to that as well. So the other part of this is, Em and I have been like kind of, you know, brainstorming, trying to be creative with some of our new positions. And so the plan is potentially putting in some community engagement managers into the branches. Some of those larger branches that have lots of programming that may need extra help. You know, we've been having a really hard time hiring librarian too, so our assistant managers. So community engagement managers would help with that aspect, and that they would supervise staff that would be doing the programming in the branches. And so that, you know, if there's a librarian 2 there, we hire a librarian 2, that librarian 2 would be really focused on being the assistant manager and not doing a lot of that programming. So there'd be a clear delineation. I think it would help with just all the work that's being done in the branches, and that would help support those high program branches that we have, the larger ones that we have. I think it's also because of the framework that we had initially, and I said that sometimes that tension that we had before, I think having those community engagement managers embedded in branches, they're part of the branch staff. And so they're going to be our liaisons to community engagement, bringing in those larger initiatives, those larger programming initiatives, and also providing leadership for some of those service level teams too. So like birth to eight, that's right. Yes, Anna.
So, those community engagement managers would still be under your office?
They would be
Your
a part
supervision?
of the branch staff.
Okay,
They would be part of the branch staff, yeah,
so they would report to the library manager.
yes. And working closely with us, yes.
So part of some of their work, so usually the way that mid-level management work goes is that you have your direct supervisor, but then oftentimes you'll have obligations to system-wide initiatives. If you're a branch manager, a lot of times that looks like policy and procedure teams, teams that help outline how we do in charge, when we have to revisit our board of supervisors, policies and procedures, they're part of those revision teams, and that's kind of like their system-wide contributions. For the community engagement manager position, their system-wide contributions would be teams that direct the system-wide programs and initiatives. But at the branch level, their management work would look like oversight of programming, the librarian ones that are at the branch, helping program planning and budgeting, so like fiscal, like the money that they have, but also the capacity for staff as we're helping understand staff and capacity as a budget of time too. They would do community partnerships at the branch and then again, that system-wide service level support. One thing I wanted to add to the community engagement manager part, Elisa, that is different than the librarian one. The community engagement manager is classified as one grade higher than the librarian two. So we're hoping that will incentivize with pay that more people will want to take on those leadership positions because it'll be a little bit of an increase in pay as well.
How many of these are new positions versus existing?
Well, we have had a historically tough time filling librarian two positions. So strategically, because we needed positions at the branches, when we would go out to hire for a librarian two and we were unable to, we would usually convert that to other positions that we needed, that we knew we would hire a lot for, in an effort to get as many people as possible. We anticipate starting with a pilot process of 3 new PCNs for community engagement manager. We have talked about doing an internal only hire for that, so that folks who are maybe in the librarian two positions would be able to apply for that, and it would kind of it would give a stepping stone for them, and it would do a little bit of movement. So it's going to be like 4 new PCNs and maybe internal promotions, and then we'll look at whether or not from that point we want to convert that position to community manager, or strategically if it will be a librarian two position that would put a librarian assistant manager versus a community engagement manager.
So back in last summer, when you weren't hiring, there was discussion, and I think some of the job descriptions were rewritten to reflect different qualifications. Did that happen to all the positions or which positions?
Virtually all the positions.
And did that affect the library two ability to hire into the library two by changing those requirements, or you don't know yet, or?
We haven't gone out for librarian two since changing. We just recently changed the librarian one descriptions. So minimum qualification would be a bachelor's degree and then experience in learning professions or nonprofit work. With the preferred qualification being a master's in library science, that the librarian two position, the minimum qualification is a master's in library science or 1 year as a librarian one. So we haven't seen the impact of the minimum qualification change because we don't have anyone in that position yet to would then move up into librarian two.
I think I understand. I guess.
Sorry, it's
I'm just
Yeah.
curious, and I guess maybe we'll see it later when we go over budgets, how creating new higher paying positions within the library system is going to affect our ability to fully staff the branches and increase programming. I mean, I understand that you're looking here for like kind of a quality, maybe. But I mean, budget wise, have you penciled all this out? I mean, can we fully staff all the branches and still afford these more expensive positions?
Yes, because as I reported last month, with the hours that we have currently, with our next library associate recruitment, which should post next Friday, we should be there at fully staffed with the hours that we have. It's then the next step is expansion of into evening or earlier morning hours, depending on what the community is. And it's easiest to do that expansion, and that's where we get an additional 35 public hours a week.
And then what about adding programming, like having 2 or 3 story times a week instead of 2 a month or something like that? Is that part of the plan?
Yeah, so community engagement manager would be focused on helping organize that programming, and the position would, their bucket of time would have a bigger dedication to programming over the administrative section of time. And we've added a lot of librarian ones over the last year. And so we've been able to, our programming capacity has increased a lot.
Good. And then where have you built in your, what do you want to call it, review or when will you be evaluating like how much programming has increased based on whatever goals? I mean, are there goals by each library, how much programming you want to increase, or is that like a district wide or?
According to the staffing of every library, with a staffing model tool that I talked about, I think it was last month, there's a budget of time based off of the positions that each library has to prep and present programming. We want to evaluate that on a case by case basis to make sure that they have the right staff to do programming. I haven't set goals necessarily, but I know some branches have more support staff than they need, like library technical assistants or something along those sides that don't do as much programming. And over time, as we have vacancies, we'll want to be strategic about maybe they have a lot of LTAs, and if someone gets a promotion, maybe the position that they get is an additional librarian one instead of an LTA, because what they need to do is expand programming. But I haven't set benchmark goals, because what we've been focused on is making sure that each branch has what it needs first in order to sustain the staff.
I think it would be helpful if we did have a goal for like as the board that 6 months from now, we look at, this was what the programming level was at for each library. And then where are we at 6 months from now with these changes or with the hires? So for example, I'll pick up Valdez, which has very minimal children's programming now, but the goal is certainly to increase that.
This month we're expanding the program.
I know, I saw that, I love it. And, but like every 6 months that we kind of do a spot check and say, is this working or is this costing us positions here, you know?
I'd be happy to do a brainstorm with the board about what something like that could look like. I think it would have some hurdles to it, but we could talk about how we could work around that. I mean, it's complicated to set a set goal like that.
I'm not saying,
Benchmark.
Karen, is what you want, just like an ability to see if we add more positions after a certain period of time, what is the result in increased programming?
thank you. And we already do that in the spreadsheet that we say we have these
Yeah.
programs and this attendance. I'm just saying that we do, like, we look at it month to month, but to do a real hard, like 6 months, what, have we made a difference in this?
And I could think
And
this
that doesn't have to be something special. It's just like,
Here's
Somebody
somebody
being-
to use what you get already.
yeah, exactly. Just build up, just that we formally compare the 6 months later to say, is this achieving what we want? Or are we still really suffering around this, subject area or this region or, whatever it is that comes through.
There's a comment behind.
I wanted to say, I think it's more accurate to compare where we were before we made all these big hires from, several months ago to, maybe a few months from now. I think that's more of an accurate comparison in terms of programming. And I also just wanted to clarify that the main library now has 2 story times. So they have family story time, they have baby story time.
I know, I love it that you added it.
Yes, and they also have, they're getting ready to start a craft or new program once a week for children as well.
I mean, from what I've read, every time you add programming, it increases attendance, we know. But I'd like to do it from, and maybe you do it at the start of the fiscal year, so it's.
Sharon, do you,
budget.
do you have a motion that you want to make, or?
Do I have to be that formal?
Well, I mean, it seems like you're asking for, you've used
Yeah,
the word
okay.
formally, so.
Well,
I think
would
everybody
like
just
to-
needs
I would
to-
like to formally request that six months from the start of the new budget, we have a robust review of how we're doing in programming branch by branch based on the spreadsheets you already do. Yeah. But only if somebody seconds my motion. I'll stay.
Okay, discussion? I'll jump in. To me, it seems like we have the information provided to do this anyway. So I think it's, just up to us to bring it up for discussion, given the information that we're provided in our packets. Other discussion? Folks online, we cannot see you. So okay,
Can we hear?
we can absolutely hear them, and maybe they could mute themselves if they're not ready to talk, because there's some background noise as well.
I agree
Right.
with your comment about the fact that we probably already have the information and that it's probably on us to look at it in the way that is being suggested. Also, I mean, I feel like we are getting pretty comprehensive data on a very regular basis.
Thanks, Maria. Anybody else?
I'm, given what Mindy said, I think for our first one, it would be nice if we saw the January of 2025, and then 6 months and then 6 months from there to capture, what happened prior to adding all of these positions, what adding the positions accomplished, and then moving forward, are we still, going in the right direction?
I'll amend my motion to be what Anna said. I just want us to, as we go through all these other things, not lose track of, we made these, staff made these big changes in positions, and we've got this big push. Just take a formal stop and say, is it working? Do we need to tweak it, or?
Okay, so we don't have Laura today, so we're gonna be generous with Anthony, who's doing the minutes. Is it you?
No.
Is anyone?
She's doing it and she's recording it
Okay.
as.
Okay,
Taking
perfect.
notes.
Then let's be 100% clear about what the amended motion is, please.
That we will, using the data, the spreadsheet from January 2025. In 6 months, we will use the same spreadsheet for whatever month that will be.
June.
Oh, well, so maybe we might not have a meeting in June. Is that too
Isn't our
soon?
annual meeting in June?
We have a meeting in June.
Okay. That we look at in June and then 6 months later, just to evaluate, is it going like we thought?
How about this?
Okay,
Let's just do it next month in June. Let's
Okay.
see how helpful it is, and then we'll make the plan for if we do it in December.
agreed.
Okay, so next month, we will have some kind of information looking at January's programming levels compared to staffing levels, compared to June's programming and staffing levels, so we can better analyze the effect that increased staffing has on programming.
Does that work?
We need a second on the amendment? I think.
Yeah.
I think, can I second it? You can. Okay, all right. Any more discussion? Is our annual meeting in June?
Yeah, I mean, that's when you elect officers and all that.
I just want to make one point for staffing. It has, and part of it was to address programming, but it's also to get branches up to the point where we're not closing to cover lunches and things of that nature as well. So
Luxurious problem.
I know. I'm just trying to temper expectation. You're gonna see, progress in programming, but it's not solely just there.
Okay.
There'll never be an end perfect number. It's just like tracking our progress so we know.
No, and I'm not saying it is. I'm just trying to, it's not all going towards programming. It's all.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Any further discussion?
I ask you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Do you want to know, because branches over program. Like, that's always been historically the problem, is that they're actually doing more than they have capacity for. And so some of the work we've been doing is having them understand how to not burn themselves out by over programming when they don't actually have the ability to do that. So a lot of the work I've been doing with our spreadsheets has to do with understanding the programming capacity at the branch. Do you want to know what the actual programming is or the capacity?
I think just the actual, you know, what,
Okay.
yeah,
No,
I mean,
think capacity too. I mean, if it's overperforming, like, if it's a capacity of X and they're doing X plus one, interesting. And if they're doing a little bit less than X, also interesting, right?
Okay.
Because it's the capabilities and the actual.
Okay.
Think of it as just educating us as to how the system with all these changes is working. And June might be too soon, but it's, you know, it's not the end, it's just a step.
Okay, you're the one who said 6 months, so I just,
But she said, but we agreed in the amendment, January to June.
okay, all right, based on this discussion, did you have a comment? No, okay, we have a motion on the table. I do think it was a helpful discussion for clarifying what we want to find out. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstaining? Okay, perfect, thank you. Any more discussion about this?
the only comment I have is, I mean, I think it's great to have, you know, community engagement managers embedded in those large branches that do a lot of programming. However, I mean, we all know how positions at the branches kind of get like absorbed into, you know what I mean? So that they may not have the time that they thought they would have for, you know, programming. So just, you know, a discussion with the branch manager saying, you know, this person is part of your staff. They're there, you know, to assist you. However, their primary responsibility is such, and, you know, don't just absorb them.
Yeah, I think it's been historically where they have been, you know, any kind of position get absorbed. I mean, that's what's been that happened with community engagement office. Like, that's why they're being pulled to public services. I think, you know, this is a pilot program, and so we're again piloting that, but I think we're gonna have to have really strong boundaries and like parameters around how we implement it, and getting feedback along the way to, you know, prove it and see how it works.
And that's been part of our commitment to staffing too, is that, you know, for, in the past, so we would have lots of positions that we had to fill. And so people would get sucked in or have to stay, or if they were a traveling librarian, pretty soon they weren't traveling because they had to be there. And so our commitment right now is trying to fill a position as quickly as we can as it becomes vacant, so that they don't get sucked into doing something that's not their responsibility.
Yeah, filling those gaps at the branch that they may have along the way, that this community engagement manager may, you know, could, you know, staff may think could fill. So what can we do to fill that gap with other staff?
I have a question too. I don't know if the results of the survey are done, and I don't know if it was sufficient enough to inform any of this, so we're just disregarding the survey altogether as we make changes.
No, we just haven't had the final report of that yet.
But I know, but if we don't know what the survey said, how does that inform or towards the changes?
We will use it to continue. We're always informing what we do about everything that happens every day. So as soon as that information is available, they'll be wrapped in.
Anything further? Okay. To the PowerPoint now?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
You want to click or do you want me to click? Cool.
Thank you.
Sorry, I couldn't get yours off my chart.
So we just wanted to, I think we're gonna start doing this is, you know, having presentations for each of our departments, our branches, so you all can learn a little bit more about, you know, what we're doing. overall in our library system. So community engagement office, I'm the deputy director of community engagement. I have Alina Rowe with me here for our library services manager. So we're just gonna do a brief kind of high level overview of all the work we do. I mean, this is very tiny snapshot of the level of work that our staff does, our small but mighty staff. And as I was saying, in this org chart, it's very different from what our current org chart is. We have a very small team that are super committed to community engagement work. We're in the process of hiring another community engagement manager for Latinx and Spanish speaking services. That'll happen very soon. So this, position won't be vacant for very long. And we are having one of our other library service managers, Monique Bettis, who is currently in public services, will be transferring into our youth services position for library service manager. She has a wealth of experience working at Make Way for Books and early literacy background. So that'll happen as soon as we're able to hire for public services. So it's a lot of shuffling around, lots of chess pieces that we have to kind of focus on. But so this is where we are currently. And like I said, it's very different from this org chart that we're aiming for. But under community engagement, we have our adult services. So the focus of that is workforce and economic development. We do a lot of digital inclusion work as well. We partner a lot with the Office of Digital Inclusion. That's part of Pima County as well. And then we do lots of adult learning. And then our system-wide partnerships and training, which is kind of the shift, that's really the service levels in youth services. So birth to 8, tween, and young adult. We will be soon moving all of our affinity teams into community engagement. Right now, they're kind of spread out across our system. Some of our library service managers or public services are admin kind of liaisons for that. We'll be moving all of those under community engagement because a lot of the work is focused on community engagement. So it just makes sense. So that's one of the big shifts we're doing. And then we also have our Latina Spanish speaking services department that, like I mentioned, we'll be hiring our new community engagement manager for that soon.
And Marissa, how many affinity teams are they and what are they?
I'll go through all of that. Yeah. So, really the bread and butter of our work is partnerships. We have many current partners that we work with, and I mean, we get emailed and called daily, Alina and I, for, more partnerships, people in the community wanting to do, an event or do a more formalized partnership with us. Right now, what we're really trying to do is we have to be really strategic and evaluate each of those partners. Is it something that's going to be a benefit to a wider, our wider community? Are we going to be able to, we want to make sure that we're a good partner. So do we have capacity to create those partnerships with them? Sometimes it's a one-time event and we're able to do that, but sometimes it could be a longer term partnership that they're proposing. So, right now what we're really focusing on is being the good partners for those existing partnerships we have. And then trying to evaluate case by case what we can take on. Our goal is to be able to say yes more than no going forward as we build capacity. I think it's great to partner with whoever wants to reach out to us, but right now we're just being really strategic about it. So I'll just go through some of the different many departments we have within community engagement. So adult services, a lot of the work is focused on workforce development and workforce and economic development. We, out of that office, they're the ones that, help with the Career Online High School. They plan the graduation, they work with the students throughout the year. GED programming comes out of that department as well. There's lots of job fairs that they go to. This is Matthew, Landon, and Nikki that do a lot of that work. They're always out and about in the community, lots of job fairs around. They also help support staff at the branches when they're doing job help. So providing them resources, providing them training at the branch level so that they can connect with the community at the branch. We have people coming in daily that are, looking for jobs. So training staff to be able to help them. We also do lots of small business helps. We partner with SPOR for workshops. We do lots of work with PCC. So there's a big, small business community here in Tucson, lots of entrepreneurship happening here in Tucson. So we try and help support those with workshops and different trainings as well. We also help coordinate our tax health process system too. So we work with AARP and United Way every year to provide those free tax services for the community. Digital inclusion, we provide computer classes in a partnership with Literacy Connects and PCC Adult Ed. And we also have, out of our office, we provide the hotspots and Chromebook landing as well to different community members. And, in our adult learning, it's partnering for English classes with Literacy Connects, and we also partner with PCC Adult Ed for our citizenship classes that many of our branches have. We do one-time author events as well. Writer in residence, we also support. So we're always constantly, again, those partners, when we don't have capacity at our level with our staffing, those partnerships are really important because they have the capacity and they're able to bring that programming into our branches. Youth services is a really large component of our work as well. That encompasses birth to 8, tween, and young adult services. And like I mentioned in, explaining this org chart, a lot of the programming, the bulk of the programming that's happening in these age ranges is happening at the branch level. And we support that programming at the branch level with, again, resources, training, the giveaways that they give at the, different events, that sort of thing. Books, lots and lots of books. We buy lots and lots of books for giveaways. So we're trying to have it more visual, so we're not, kind of breaking it up a little bit. This is an event that we had.
Well, can I interject?
Yeah, sure.
On this one here, this is our weekly program actually, that we go to the Craycroft. Every Friday, one of our staff members goes, and if you're not familiar with the Craycroft, it's an emergency shelter for families that are either going to become houseless or evicted. So we go to this every Friday. And in the slide before as well, if you saw that zine, the mini zine, the program, we have.
Okay.
Nope.
No, he's the back arrow.
There I was going to.
So as you can see right there, the mini zine poetry prompts inspired by Native American poets. So a lot of the stuff that we share out into the community are things that are culturally relevant to represent a lot of our underserved communities here, to help dismantle the stereotypes of a lot of people. And one of our amazing staff members, Lindsay Hurley, she creates this, and she's a poet herself. And she tries to bring this into the classrooms, because this is the school that she went and did outreach on just this week. And so everything that we put out is thoughtful, it's mindful, and we're making sure that it's serving our community, because representation matters, right? And we want to make sure that when we're outreaching to kids, the books that we share are also of BIPOC children or characters, right? And also authors. So it's not just like, here's a book for everybody. We're thoughtful in what we purchase for these outreaches as well, and what we put out there, so that we're, again, like I said, getting rid of those stereotypes. And also these kids are seeing themselves in these all this information that we're sharing.
Yeah, there's a lot of work with our affinity teams in creation of these materials, and really, we've been really making an effort to include them in the program, like the process of, we're doing larger event programming, including them in that work too, so that they can have their input as well, because I think it's super important, as Alina mentioned. All right.
There you go. You're welcome.
Okay. So one of the larger events that I wanted to highlight is Megamania that's coming up this summer. It's on July 19th, which is a Saturday. It's from noon to 4. It's a really fun mini Comic-Con that we have for, it's, geared towards youth, but we have all ages that come, whole families come dressed up. It's super fun and there's gonna be workshops, author events, a lot of our affinity teams will have a space this year, which is very, I think, a new thing that we're having. They'll be having some of those, culturally really relevant programming and materials to give out, the arts and some of the arts activities that they'll be providing as well. This is the flyer from last year, so we're right now in the planning process for this year, but if you're able to come, it's at PCC downtown campus this year, as we've been doing it that in that location for many years, but it's a great event. It's very well attended, and so it takes a lot of staff from the branches that are on a planning committee working on creating this event every year. So, and our team and CEO to help support that.
All right, so our summer reading, y'all will get a sneak peek. I'll go ahead and I'm gonna pass it on. So it's our loteria, and the theme this year is actually Color Our World. So my team and I got together and we're like, what can we create to make a something that is colorful, beautiful, and also like relevant to our community? And also, how can we use this to bring kids into the library, kids and families, right? So we thought of loteria. A lot of families, I know in my experience, we used to play loteria all the time as kids and we loved it. And so we said, why not loteria? Because it's actually kind of making a comeback lately. So that's what we did. And in the back, you'll see the activity that the kids will participate in. But also I just want to give big props to Renee and Carolina, who they saw what we were envisioning and they brought it to life and made it even better. So they created this for us. And a lot of the activities will be something that has to do with our desert, with our libraries, with our community. And again, it's all very thoughtful. And we really worked hard on it. So we're really excited to roll this out in June, which will be June 2nd till, and it will end August 2nd. And also we will have some great giveaways. We were able to acquire some bookmarks from the state library. So we had that as an addition to what we will be giving in our prize giveaways. So the first prize will be, you can fill up one line either diagonally, horizontally, vertically, and then you'll get one prize first, either a pencil or a sharpener eraser combo. And then if they complete the whole thing, then that's what you get on the other picture. Sorry, you get that whole bunch of stuff there. You get your certificate of completion. You get that nifty bookmark that I mentioned. It has a timer and a light on it so that the kids can know how long they're reading for the time, and then the light as well if they want to be under the covers reading. And then they also have that little box there that has color pencils and a sharpener, and it's also a ruler, so when you pull it out you can use it as well, and they will get a coloring book as well. So it's pretty exciting. So we're excited about the summer reading program. Yeah. It's like
book giveaways too.
yes, and we'll have book giveaways as well.
Will the library at the juvenile center get to participate in this?
No, because they're under different rules.
Do they get any of these youth programs?
Yeah.
They do get programs.
But they can't do the summer reading.
They have
Can
a process. It's called a field guide journal that is actually, they do reading, but they also do writing.
Okay.
Yeah, they do provide them with different resources.
So we're pretty excited about this summer reading program. It's we changed it back to summer reading program instead of summer learning because everybody recognizes it better as summer reading. So it's like, let's go back to that. And we're still in the process of re-envisioning it completely for next year as well. So stay tuned. You are all privileged to get this first because tomorrow I will be presenting this to the 0 to 8 group. So Y'all are seeing it first. Next slide, please. So another part of our work is the affinity teams, right? I'm a member of, and also a co-liaison of the Many Nations team, which is our team that outreaches to our Native and Indigenous communities. And here we took a picture with our first ever Indigenous writer in resident, Tom Holm, and his wife. So we were able to meet with them and get to know them and just brainstorm ideas on how he wanted to do his workshops and things like that. And it was just a great experience because now we have a really good connection with him and he feels really supported by the library and loved by the library. So he's become one of our biggest advocates as well. So as you can see, there's our affinity teams that we have. We have, and I'm a member of Nuestras Raíces as well, and Biblio Lotus. Biblio Lotus is to outreach to our Asian community. Kindred is our Black community. Pride for our LGBTQ plus. Our Welcome to America is refugees, immigrants. Synapse is for mental health resources and programming. And the Seed Library, which you all are familiar with already. So, and we connect with each other as well. This Sunday we had an outreach, and it was a mix between Nuestras Raíces and Seed Library because we were giving out little pots with soil and seeds from our Seed Library to give out to the community at a community, which you'll see a little picture of it in a little bit. But these are affinity teams. And so one of our biggest service to the community is with our Latinx and Spanish speaking community, because that's a big population that is here in Southern Arizona, Tucson, right? So here are just some examples of what we've done. Earlier this month, we had our DIA program in partnership with Galeria Mitotera and the city of Tucson. We gave away a lot of books. It was really hot and windy, but we were out there. Our eggs were swollen from allergies afterwards, but we pulled through. And also here's Mes de la Cultura, which is in October.
It's half September, half October.
Yeah, it's like half and half. And so this is one of the coloring pages that Carolina also created for this event. Or for
Our branches, yeah.
for the branches to be able to share. Next, please. And then one of our partners is the Mexican Consulate to provide El Grito, which is every year we celebrate the independence of the Día de Independencia of Mexico, right? Where they do El Grito when they were able to get their independence. And so, because it's important to the Mexican community here, so we celebrate it as well, because if people see themselves in the library, right, they're gonna continue to come. If we're doing this type of program, we're celebrating their culture, we're honoring their experiences and where they're coming from. So we bring that into the library. And again, you see that beautiful El Grito created by Renee's team. They're amazing. So this is just a little glimpse of some of our events. And here's some more things. The TFOB, right? We have our Nuestras Raíces tent, which are there on the top left. That's when we're putting it together, right? And then we enjoy it and have a great time. It's a lot of work. It's a year-long process, but it's a beautiful thing, and we're also proud of what we did and how it turned out, right? And Hasael, who's no longer in our community engagement office, he was a big part of the work as well, and then Samantha as well. And even my son is in one of the pictures because he was there helping. So got to teach him young to do outreach.
You've done most of your outreaches.
Yeah. It's Miss Ford. He's been in outreaches. So here on the left, you see the Sol and Luna Community Habitat ribbon cutting, which we're part of with Selena Barajas. She opened up Sol y Luna, and it's, I believe, the first South Tucson coffee shop where you have a space where you can go sit outside and be in a little garden. area. So there you see a picture of me with all the pots that we had ready to go, and we gave out 80 of those pots. So, and some people didn't want them, but we still gave out 80, so there was quite a lot of people. And then up at the top, our Tech Fest, you see one of our staff members, Nikki, she's amazing, and she was at Tech Fest as well. You can see the background, it doesn't look that great, but we're there. They did, wherever they put us, we're there.
We'll put the table up.
Yep. And then underneath Nikki, you can see Lindsay, who I mentioned earlier. She was at one of the STEM nights at the San Javier Mission School that we go to monthly, to be able to support our brothers and sisters on the nations as well, to serve them and also learn from them as well. Up at the top, you see Samantha and Noelia as well. They're at the Adelante Parent and Youth Leadership Conference. And at the bottom, you see Samantha and Leah as well, and one of our former interns at the Educators Conference as well. So here's some more outreach. This was just last night on the right, the Day of the Child at the Pascuayaki tribe. It was a really neat event. It felt like home because I grew up in that area of town, and I went to Lawrence, where our school, our Southwest Library is located. That was my elementary. So Pascua is very dear to me because that's what I grew up in. And so it was a great thing to go see and participate and be there in community, right? And so there we were, part of the CEO and Many Nations team. And on the left, you can see the STEM nights at San Javier Mission, where the kids were just, getting resources as well. And then at the bottom, it was in partnership with PAC, Feria de Salud Canina, which was to outreach to the Spanish-speaking community to be able to provide for our pets, right? So it was a great event as well.
Thanks, Helene.
Yeah.
So future, I mean, I think I guess I mentioned, we're still in transition, we're still growing. We really want to do more outreach. That's our goal going forward, larger events, participate and be able to say yes to those larger events. Training and professional development for our staff. And increasing partnerships, because when we increase our partnerships, we increase our footprint in the community. And so that's gonna take building capacity. So that's what we're working towards, slowly but surely. And I think once we build out a bigger team, we're really looking at working together to kind of do the dreaming and envisioning of what more can we do? What haven't we thought of? What kind of thinking outside of the box and creative ideas kind of the new staff bring to this office, and what can we do in the future? So I just wanted to end by highlighting that our library staff is amazing. Our community engagement staff is amazing. They engage with our community every day. We engage at our outreach events. We engage with the conversations we have with partners. We engage at the branch level every day with people that come in asking for help. The programs that we provide. It's in community engagement on all levels, all day long. This is the work that we do throughout the system. And so I think it's a skill set that we have as librarians. So there's always room for growth and learning. We're always learning from our community. What do they need? What can we provide them in the future? But I think, in this room, we have decades and decades and decades of experience in this type of work. So I just want to acknowledge that, like, this is the work that we have done for many, many years. And for many of us, not just our job, like Helene and I are from Tucson. Many of us in this room are from Tucson. We come from the communities that we outreach to. So it's not just our job, it's a passion, it's a personal commitment for many of us, because we got into this profession to give back. And so we are very committed to the work. So, and I think, we want to support ourselves. I think what's shifted for us too, since the pandemic, is that we have also been looking at our staff as part of our community. And so that's why our shift has been really supporting our staff too, because they're part of the community that we serve too. So we really want to continue to support them, give them resources that they need to do the work that they are doing. So that's it. I think there's more.
The next page.
Oh, yeah. I thought you would all enjoy this. So this came out of an actual, the outreach event, that Alina attended at the Luna Isol. Do you want to talk a little bit about?
Sure. So at Soli Luna, it's on, like I said, the city of South Tucson on 29. And it used to be Ray and Sons where they used to have videos and VHS, right? It was a video place that you would go to and it was like really the only place.
Anthony doesn't know what a VHS tape is.
Get locked upstairs.
Before there was a blockbuster, this is the neighborhood place where you checked out videos, right? And where it's located, our former library was located there.
So that was the first, that was the San Luis South Tucson Library. And Anna knows more about it.
She's like, yup.
Yep,
Irene, do you want to add on that?
only that, okay, and before Ray and Sons was the video store, it was an actual automotive. And, there was no restroom in the trailer as we called it. And so our staff would have to go use the restroom at Ray and Sons, and, there were lots of, men who, cat calls and stuff. So we've endured a lot to make sure that our community gets the services they deserve.
Yeah, and I was the manager of South Tucson for almost 4 years, and it was kind of like this mythical thing. They were talking about the trailer, and I'm like, I've never seen a picture of it until I ran into Selena because I went to one of her pop-ups, and she's like, look, I have the picture of this trailer. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing to finally, actually see it.
That needs to go on your annual report.
Yeah.
Put it in now,
Then and now, yeah, I think, now seeing the space that we have in South Tucson, it's a big, big growth and transition, so. Yeah, I just thought let's do a little nostalgic back in time. It's quite interesting. I think that's it. If you have any questions for us, like I said, it's a very, a quick overview of the work we're doing. Any questions, comments?
I think it was a great presentation. Thank you so much.
First, I have a question, and maybe this is for outside me, do you guys only do cultural stuff, or is there because it seems to me that there is a huge gap in our community around environmental education. I mean, it happens in places like at the Desert Museum or Camp Cooper, depending on what school you go to or where you live. But, and this struck me because at Quincy Douglas a couple weeks ago, there was this very interesting conversation between some children talking about what a coyote looked like. And it was, I'm like, these kids aren't going out to the Desert Museum. And there was I just thought, gosh, I wish, because water's such an issue, we're in a big drought. There's so many people who move here from other places and don't know what the Sonoran Desert entails. Or even people who just don't get to experience it outside their neighborhood.
100%.
And I feel like, whether you just do it as around the, celebration of Tucson, or whether it's, April's very tactical to say, don't do it at Earth Day, because that's, April can't handle any more activities. But just, it's somehow that we weave in an ongoing thread of environmental education so that not just children, but people can understand how unique and precious the desert is.
I can share a little bit about that because at this event we did on Sunday, that was part of.
Right, perfect.
And plus, we also shared about how to plant and also what we should be planting in this environment. And also touched upon how the city of South Tucson is one of the hottest places because there are no trees. And that's one of the big things in poverty-stricken areas, that there are no trees. So we are doing that work, and we do have Earth Day celebrations, and we do have that not only in the outreach, but also in the libraries doing that work.
I just recently had talked about daily phone calls. I just had a phone call from Cam Juarez at the Saguaro National Park, National Monument. So he was asking how can we partner going forward, right? And I think that.
I think everything you're doing is wonderful, and there's environmental education, such a huge category. I'm just very worried about what's happening especially with the drought, and University of Arizona they put out a research paper on how the way all these landscape companies are trimming trees way too severely, and that's why so many trees are dying. But how do you find out that information? Nobody ever does workshops on, this is how you should be taking care of your desert.
We have had workshops on water harvesting, on swamp canteen or gardening, lots of different things.
We need to have a workshop on don't murder your trees.
Yeah, I think what was interesting that Cam shared that, Saguaro has the two districts, the east and west, and he said that East District, the majority of visitors to East District are the community around it, so the neighborhood around it, a lot of the visitors are from there, they utilize it, but the West District, majority of people are tourists.
Yeah.
They, like, those communities around that don't really, go to that, so that's what he was really wanting to focus on, and I mean, that, I live, Alina lives really close to that, I live on that side of town. I mean, I don't remember visiting very often when I was little, and so it's like, how do we do outreach to the communities around that area, nearby that area that can utilize, they may not even know that there's Saguaro National Woods even there, and what are the resources and, learning more about it. So I think that's, again, another partnership that we're hoping to utilize and grow in the coming year. They have like a National Parks Week, so we can do programming around that in the branches and really promote it.
Yeah, they have a free park day.
Mhm.
One of our giveaways is the Arizona State Park Pass.
Wonderful.
So we are doing that work.
Yeah, I know that you're doing, I just
We
feel
can
like
do
I just feel like we're in a crisis in our community,
Yeah.
weather-wise.
It sounds like the programming addresses a lot of it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if there's any comments from online.
John.
Yeah, excuse me, this is
Uh,
John, and can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
go ahead,
Go
John.
ahead.
Yeah, I just have a general question about the affinity teams. I really enjoy getting the regular emails from the various teams. I think they're uniformly well done. Most recent one I saw was from the Synapse team, which focused on the importance of getting a good night's sleep and also the value of kindness. But a question I've had actually for years and never asked, so I'll ask it today, is how do these teams do this work? Is there like a coach or a manager for each team, or do they meet, or is it all done online, or just how do they produce the regular emails that are sent out?
I just want to also point out that, that's really
Holly
good.
putting that together.
Yeah, so.
Emails.
Wait, go on this.
Yeah.
She works for the affinity team.
But which is a very small portion of the actual work of the team.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
they can work in programs.
She makes it all look great.
Yeah.
Perfect little package.
So the affinity teams, because you had a few questions in there, but the affinity teams each have their LSM or two LSMs in there that are the liaisons to administration, but there's also chairs, so they self-elect, or they elect within their teams who they want to be their representative. So, and sometimes every year they change out, it all depends on the affinity team. And also some of the affinity teams are larger, like Nuestras Raíces, but there's also some smaller ones. So, what was the other part of your question?
So
Right.
are they from all over the county? So do they communicate
Yes.
through email or?
All over
Zoom or
they're
whatever?
from.
Their distribution lists of all the members they're within their teams. And they have virtual meetings and also in-person meetings when they're able to. So they're staff members from all the different branches.
Well, they're doing a good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Alina, John, may I add something? I just think this is interesting because it's kind of addresses the question of like, how are they created? Where are they? What happens? There was a conversation on the intranet, the library's intranet a while back that kind of touched upon mental health and well-being challenges and issues. And it started kind of going the wrong way, the conversation. And so someone posted, it would be really cool if we had a mental health affinity team. And the next thing you knew, there was a meeting there were 5 of us, and now we're a group of, I think 13 or 14 doing the work, but I think it's just nature of the job, how like people see what needs to be, what we need to bring to the table and then make it happen.
So, but it's all staff that are in the
Yes.
fence. Yeah. And do they do this off hours or is
Part of their-
Part of our work.
It's from their administrative bucket.
You're the one that started out by saying what buckets they.
It's true.
That's why I'm like.
It doesn't come from programming, it comes from administrative, so that's attend meetings and be part of those groups, things like that. And then the branches loan them out to do outreaches a lot of times, so they'll take time away from the branch to go out into the community, which is great, and we all really support.
Any other questions about the presentation? Okay, great, thank you so much. And also, I like this idea of coming and presenting like a more comprehensive picture of the work that you're doing. That's really nice. Thanks. All right. All right, Renee. Somebody-
Oh, goodness, okay. Okay, this is not even a joke, it's perfect timing, so we talked about in the air last night, right? So last night, I was talking about it last night, no. Phil Collins, how do you feel about it? So just today, I published the second post in that blog series, and Lizzie, a folk artist, says of the song, I don't hate it, but ... move to the next question. Which song would you like your nemesis to have to listen to for the rest of their lives? Good question. How about In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins? That's up. It's the first widget on our website, so you can go read that interview. It was really good. She had a lot of great stuff to say. We have coming up on May 7th, World Maternal Health Day. And one of the members of Synapse, her name is Justina. She works at Nanini. She did a great blog post talking as the mother of 3 about mood and anxiety postpartum. And it's really a great post. And she also linked to a lot of books. So I think that's important. It's something that has some stigma, and the more information we can share, the better. Oh, I went to the Swap Stories with Strangers event on Sunday. We had a huge wait list. Unfortunately, some of the people who RSVP didn't make it and didn't let us know. So we didn't have as large a crowd as we wanted, but we had 16 very eager participants who answered questions and rotated seats and enjoyed snacks. 2 of the participants who were separated in age by, I would say, at least 40 years, went to get coffee together after. So that was really great as well. And the annual report is in. You all, I hope, have one and have had a chance to read it and enjoy it and share it. And if you have anyone you want to give a copy to, just let me know. We have extra and I can put them in the mail.
Great. Questions? Congratulations on the annual report. Yeah. Anything from you, Renee?
Yeah, good.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's move on. Larissa?
I don't have anything else to add other than what we've heard, but if anyone has questions about. What was in it? I think I've talked enough.
I think we've given it many opportunities.
I touched on the report, earlier in April was National Library Workers Day, and we had a lot of fun delivering, I don't know, 30 all around that day, and everyone got, so it was fun, that was a lot of fun. Let me see, we have a page hours budget for the first time in 5 years, probably, that we're adhering to. So that's really exciting. We're gonna start hiring pages, which we haven't done since 2023, which the branches are very thrilled about that. And I wanted to do a little shout out. I think that Anna was headed to this event, actually. Perry, who spoke about the special collection, also oversees El Pueblo Library and is getting an award as we speak, the Jackman Impact Award for working with the students on that project at the El Pueblo Library. So a couple of our Halloween has not finished too, and I just really proud of her for that work. So it was really, really awesome. And Anna talked more about it, but that was what I was.
Nice.
That's what I got.
Questions for Em? Okay, Anthony.
Yeah, so Valencia is now back open from the recarpeting refresh, so that went fairly smooth and went faster than expected, which was great. Bear Canyon is closed now for their renovations. There is just some changes going on with the project management on that group internally in the county, but it's going smooth. There was a smooth transition with that group, and they will make sure that keeps going along. Richard Elias' mission is on track, so looking like spring of 26, and that's what was expected. But other than that, we've been hiring like crazy. We got some of the PCNs that we had asked for this year from county admin and finance, and so that has been great.
When you say some,
We asked for more that was outside of the contingency of what we asked for next year.
no, I'm asking, so like you asked for how many?
We asked, so sorry, I should have clarified, correction, we got the PCNs we asked for this year.
Okay.
We got them all, we filled some of them. As Em alluded to, we're going out to start recruiting the library associates next week. And then, the LTA positions that we had actually asked for, we had actually already recruited them, so when we actually got the PCNs, we auto-filled them, and then have they been distributed to the branches?
I don't know if everyone's started yet.
Yep.
But they're starting right around now if they haven't yet.
Yeah, we had a driver 2 position that was actively recruiting, but there has been some layoffs in other departments within the county, and so we utilized that to actually absorb a person that got laid off from the health department that had the experience to be a driver for us. So it worked out great. She actually had a couple opportunities and she chose the library over a couple different departments. So that shows that we're providing a good value. But other than that, I have nothing else.
Questions for Anthony?
Is there a draft budget? I mean, have you presented a budget to the supervisors and?
Yeah, so our supplemental budget, we did work with county admin and finance to make sure it was all in alignment. There is a recommended budget that has been provided. It is on the county administrator's website.
We can send you.
Yeah, we can.
That I can look up.
Yeah, so there is and that will get voted on May 20th, right? At the May 20th board meeting? Yeah.
Tentative budget.
Yes, right, yeah, so, but yeah, we've had a lot of support, from county administration, from finance, and our board of supervisor representatives on this. Mary Ann, do you have a question? Saw you come on.
No.
Okay.
I was just wanting actually a little clarification about when you said you got the PCNs you asked for, but you are still holding out for the 16 in the next budget. Is that right?
Correct, we had asked for additional PCNs this year, which we talked about at the last meeting and was part of M's presentation. We asked for additional PCNs in next budget year, which is along the, in the plan that M presented as well. So that's all part of the plan of what we're doing to be strategic with our asks. We were, the ones we asked for in the supplemental for next year's budget, we were just moving along and we identified that there was still a need now for PCNs. So we asked for additional ones and we had support on that.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, before we go to Amber's, I'll just say that there was a mistake in process this month, and so that John and I weren't able to see the draft agenda before it was released. We know that we had asked for the downtown library relocation to be a standing item on the agenda, and it is not. But you know, we'll figure it out, and we're going to include that discussion if there's any questions or updates in Amber's report as library director.
So we can start with that.
Great.
We don't have a lot to share. We've had, staff were able to visit the Wells Fargo building. Right now, we still have to find out what's the pleasure of the Board of Supervisors, whether that building will be purchased or not. So, I don't know, Steve, did you want to say anything more about that?
Current discussions are happening with the Wells Fargo and our team that you've met with, as well to look at a purchase agreement that would go before the board within the next probably month. It's a longer process to continue that conversation, as we continue conversation with staff here as well.
When does the community start getting talked to and engaged with around the relocation?
So once a building is acquired, then the whole, there's a engagement process for the planning of that building that includes community as part of the design process.
That's.
So we gotta buy it first.
Outline, yeah.
And is the urgency to buy because the situation of this building, or is it because you're worried that Wells Fargo might sell it to somebody else or.
It's a combination of both, right, in terms of where we want to make a good investment as a county. So there's a combination of opportunity along with not making sure we're not investing in more money in a building that we may not have long term. Right, so it's a little bit of both.
So the city has to set uncle because we're broke and they come back to ask you to buy this building.
City has not had any more conversations with us.
Anything else on that? I mean, John.
Yeah, actually, I have just a quick question about that, and just to follow up on something we talked about last month. Will we go ahead, or will you all go ahead and make some improvements to the current main library? That the letter that the staff sent out supporting the move to the Wells Fargo building really highlighted to me some serious problems that seem to be needing to get addressed immediately. Like there was a mention about sewage leaking down into the children's story room, and of course the elevator problem. I'm just wondering, so since we expect even if the library moves to the Wells Fargo building, it seems like it'll be several years from now. So will we go ahead and make some improvements at the current main library, or what's the thinking on that?
Absolutely. We have $1 million in the budget for main library this year, this fiscal year, and that'll be used however it needs to be. Sewage has leaked. Yes, that's true, but it's not currently leaking. But if there is sewage leaking, we certainly handle that. Also the elevators, while they sometimes stall, they're not, it's not gonna fall. No one's gonna be injured in it. And the repairs happen to that on a regular basis. The only problem is that if it comes to that they're no longer able to get parts for them, then that would be a stopping point for us. But yeah, we'll continue to do maintenance on this building as we're required to, because even if we turn it over to the city, we need to turn it over in the best condition that we can.
Great, thanks.
Okay, so a couple of business things I just wanted to remind you all of is that, so for June, which will be the annual meeting, but also electing your chair and vice chair. So be thinking about that. We, as you will note, because we're here today, did not make a May retreat. And I am suggesting that a retreat be held when you have a new director so that they can share a good vision. And you all can, it doesn't, just because we've traditionally done a retreat in May, it can be done any time of the year. So whatever works for the group. Also want to note that the July, sometimes we end up canceling a summer meeting. The July 4th is the Friday, so our meeting would be on the 3rd. So you might want to think about for the next meeting if that's one that you want to either vote.
We will think about that.
So thinking for July. And then just some personal things that I want to share. We've been helping with the money that comes through the library for the PEEPS program. And we recently had the steering committee meeting for the PEEPS program at the Ocotillo Learning Center, which was amazing. Steve got to be there as well. And it was just so heartening. And at some point, we probably should ask how the board members visit some of the sites as well, because the report that came out is that in the time that PEEPS has been going on, 4,000 kids have had quality preschool care. And I was just so, I had not visited a site before, and the kids were lovely. They were so engaged. That it is a beautiful center. And one little girl just came up and grabbed my hand on the playground and she said, "Let me introduce you to my friends." And I thought, okay, there's a world leader right there. Because she's, and so I just wanted to say, I think that that's a really wonderful program, and I hope that the county can continue to support it in the way that has been, even if there have to be other funding things sought in the future, it's well worth the time of the community. Also, we all got to visit the Mission Library. We had to wear hard hats and all that because it's major construction, but it is going to be phenomenal. I was totally wowed by even just how the studs are. So it's gonna be beautiful. Looking forward to seeing that. I will definitely have to come back after retirement to have a visit with that. I wanted to, could you talk about the award from San Miguel?
Oh, yeah, so Lena and I attended a appreciation luncheon for partners with San Miguel High School. We work with them to place youth our like youth interns during the year. We work with them. We've had a 10-year partnership with them. And so I was not expecting that. I just thought, oh, we're gonna go to luncheon and hear, you know, the students talk about their experiences at different work sites. They partner with many different organizations, for-profit and nonprofit around the community. And so, you know, we're sitting there and they did awards, and it was, we got a 10-year partner award. So we're excited. I have to go up and get that unexpectedly. I was like, wait, we're getting an award. But I think it's a great program. It's a wonderful way. San Miguel is located on the south side off of Valencia. You know, the majority of students that attend that are students from that area, you know, from that community. And so it's really impactful. They get really, you know, real-time job skills at different work sites. And so it was great to hear all their, you know, experiences that they've had. I know we really appreciate having them in our libraries when we are able to. And so I think it's a great partnership that we're really committed to continuing, so.
And I thought of that, because she brought the little glass star, we should brought it in here. But, also, we do get summer youth interns as well, which is separate from this program, but I think is one of the, those two opportunities are some of the best that we provide in the community, where we actually grow our own, because a lot of those eventually become library pages and then take other jobs in the library system. So just wanted to share that. And with that, I think that's it, unless you have questions for me.
Are there questions for Amber?
Oh, I did want to talk about the survey. Sorry.
Okay.
So 7,000 responses online, 200 that are being inputted. We've got staff working on those that were the paper surveys. And so Jessica, who is the person that we got from the U of A, not Jessica who worked for us, but consultant Jessica, she is working on getting all of that information together. However, there was a little bit of a snafu when we did the contract for her, that we didn't had a plan for open-ended questions in it, and as you remember, we ended up adding a couple, and that's about 6,000 responses that need to be coded and tracked, and to see if we can glean good information from that. And so that was beyond the scope of her contract, but she in July we can do her contract again. So she'll do the first part on all of the easily, and then the second piece will be on that, which we think will give us some, because that was like what people felt we were missing. I think that's important for us to get. So that'll be an additional cost, but we've got it in the budget.
Okay. And can we get an update on the hiring process to fill your position?
Okay. I would let the team talk about that.
We had a robust national hire. We've got it down to a first round of full day of interviews on May 9th. Thank you, John, and Pi for joining us in that. And we anticipate a second round of in-person interviews. So I will be in touch pretty soon here about how you all can be part of that. Do you want to add anything?
I'll just add there, I believe we're interviewing 7 candidates from around across the country on that next Friday. So from that pool, we're hoping that at least 2 emerge from that we could take a second look with more of a community process, right, with staff and this team. So that's shaping out. So we'll just see what happens on Friday and then determine what that would look like, probably scheduled for 2 weeks out from that date.
I'm curious, what was the total number of applicants? I know some probably weren't qualified, but I'm just curious, was it dozens or hundreds or?
Sometimes HR doesn't, I can share it.
Sharon, yeah.
I think about 13 total.
That's all?
That went through, yeah, that made
That
it
made it
through
through minimum qualifications,
Okay.
and then we, use the preferred qualifications to evaluate all the positions and got it down to another 7 to, for the first round.
And I think that that's a pretty good turnout for what's happening around the country right now. I know one person that I talked to in California who was interested in it, just felt like the way things are in the country, this is not a great time to be changing jobs unless you're really secure in what is happening in your life. And so, the fact that we got people from outside of Arizona to apply, I think is great. And we did make sure that it was posted with the Mountain Plains Library Association, which is 12 surrounding states. We kind of posted it with the American Library Association, with Reforma, and then, of course, with all of our local things as well. So I feel like while it may seem like a small amount, I think for what's going on and the number of director positions that are open around the country, that was a good result.
We got candidates from across the country, like literally.
I
All over.
Especially if people do any research about Pima County, because we're really blessed that our library system is very solidly funded and is not 50% federal money, you know, we're really lucky.
Any other questions?
be-
Go ahead, John.
I'll be sitting in on the interviews next Friday, taking Mariana's place, who will be, she has a scheduling conflict, so that's why I'll be participating. And, but if any board members have any particular questions or concerns, you're welcome to contact me before next Friday, and I'll do what I can to have those addressed. So, but anyway, so I'm looking forward to it, and
That's good.
so thanks for.
And thanks for filling in, John.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Any other questions for Amber? All right, any other motions?
I move to adjourn.
Oh, nice. Second, anybody? John, you're on screen. Great, perfect. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, carried. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Oh, there we go.